It really all started as a normal day at work. Several years ago, I got a call from a local couple of attorneys that I worked with. And they had another case. They were guardian attorneys primarily. They did a lot of guardianship. And frequently that needed private duty to come in. And I had helped start a private duty company. And so my plan was to go over and do an admission of a woman they said had been found outside. And, it really on the outside, it was a really nice neighborhood in a nice part of town here in Cincinnati. And it was a two-story brick, the yard was done. And from the outside, everything looked really normal. And I think it's a great comparison to talk about people living with brain change because frequently on the outside, everything appears very normal. Like I said, the grass was cut, the bushes were trimmed. You never would have guessed that there was some type of chaos going on inside, but there was. And and so when I first came in the door, um, and looked up, it was an amazing home. You could see artwork there from around the world, really incredible, and I just admired it was 2 stories up and all this amazing artwork. I had worked in an art gallery in my life, and so had an appreciation for some really great artwork, and, um, and so you would have thought, wow, so amazing, so many wonderful memories here. I knew that the woman I was about to meet was a widow. I knew that there had been no children, and that had allowed them to enjoy traveling around the world and collecting all these treasures. And so they had a variety of different art pieces around the room, and it was breathtaking. You usually didn't see that much unless you were in a museum. And so I was just kind of taking it all in. And then there was the first red flag, and as I closed the door to the home and looked back, the door was covered with Post-it notes. And I thought, "Oh, no, first red flag." And they were Post-it notes that said, "Do this, do that, don't forget to do this, don't forget to do that, dentist appointment Tuesday, 4 o'clock." And, and all of my red flags were going off. Now, back then, I didn't know as much about dementia as I know now, but all I saw were a bunch of Post-its, and, and I'm looking around the home and seeing all the clutter. So looking up, it was beautiful museum-like, and when you look down, it was pretty frightening, and I would say that this woman had been doing her best for a long time. So sad that on the outside, no one could see. She didn't drive any longer, and, so she really wasn't going out. I don't know where she was going on this day, but they did find her outside in her bathrobe on a cold morning, and I don't know if she was trying to get the mail, but she had fallen into the ditch and then couldn't get up. Um and so as I walked through the home, I noticed in the kitchen, things were piled up and crazy. And it looked like, probably someone hadn't cooked in there in a long time. But there were lots of empty boxes and dishes and takeout stuff. The refrigerator was pretty well stocked. Um, and so again, all these things that make you say, what's going on here? What is going on that you have someone who is capable in some capacities, but completely not capable in other capacities. It looked so normal originally on the outside, but then on the inside, things were not normal. There was chaos, there was confusion, probably some elements of fear. And fortunately, I was able to meet this lovely woman and honestly, pleasantly confused and no awareness that there was a dire situation. She greeted me. She was kind of disheveled, but pleasant. And I asked if I could sit and visit, and she was good with that. and I could hear someone upstairs doing some things. I think in addition to me, the, guardians, had brought in some other people too. So I sat and visited with her, and it was quite a lovely visit. Interesting, she had a little, wrist brace on one hand. I can see it like it was yesterday, and, and everything about her looked, like it was kind of older, and maybe she hadn't, updated any wardrobe and probably hadn't, maybe even washed a lot of things in a long time. There was quite a bit of odor in the house. What I failed to tell you is there were pets in the house. But she thought in her mind she was so capable, in her mind it was all okay. It was so normal. And, she was telling me about taking care of her animals, and there was a German Shepherd there by her side, and you could tell definitely a fond companion. And she got up to feed the dog, and I just was observing. My job was to be there, get the paperwork, do an admission, and then have private duty come in because obviously she couldn't stay in this home any longer. And the goal was to then transition her to some type of a memory care or community. And, so as we visited, a couple of things that stood out, she jumped up to, um, feed the dog, and she went to the refrigerator. I didn't see any dog bowl or anything. She went to the refrigerator, and she took out, a package of lunch meat, ham, actually, and she proceeded to put the strips of ham across the front of, the leather couch that was on the other side of the room, and the dog thought that was a great deal, and, he appeared to be well fed. He hadn't been brushed in a long time, but, he was well fed, he was happy, he wasn't angry at me or anything for being there, and, you could tell she loved this dog. And, she didn't appear to be uncomfortable in any way. She certainly didn't ask any questions, and I was careful not to drill her with questions, but pleasant and, knew things back in time, could tell me about a couple pieces of art, but really not engaging in the everyday and what was going on. It's so hard because from the outside, we don't see the symptoms of dementia. How many times, have you learned someone has dementia and you're like, "What? How could they have dementia?" You know? Because on the outside they look so great. But we know now that we can have dementia years before we make a big enough mistake that then help is brought in or the people around us don't take us to get care. Kind of what happened here. She had been in that situation for a while, you could tell, because of the way things looked, and the little bit of hoarding that had gone on, probably lack of housekeeping, but there was food there, so the mystery wasn't over yet, and, but then she had fallen outside and had fallen into the ditch and couldn't get up, and the neighbors had called for help. So her secret was out, and now she could finally get the help that she needed. But it's just amazing to me how frequently these situations are going on and we have no knowledge of it. We really need to have our radar on, eyes wide open, because with the number of diagnoses out there, the symptoms of dementia, these brain change things are going on around us all the time. We know now more than 120 diagnoses that can give us symptoms, but it is so important to get things checked out because maybe what we have is treatable. Maybe it is a thyroid disease or something. And the goal was to take her to a medical doctor and, get things ruled out prior to just placing her in a community where she could get more help. It is sad, though, that the pets didn't get to go with her. And someone else that gets hurt along the way with dementia sometimes are the animals because, folks, you know, they don't remember to feed the dog or cat, or they don't remember, to take care of them. Or I can remember a woman who changing the litter box really wasn't a thing that was on the top of her list past survival. And so probably that was the odor that hit me when I came in. It was from animals, not being able to let them out on time, not being able to clean up after them. There actually were 6 cats upstairs, and the noise that I heard was a woman up there trying to herd cats, and that's pretty terrible. Um, but they all needed to get on to better homes and get more care. But again, from the outside, you wouldn't have known. Just having a conversation with her, well, maybe by her attire you might have known, but you wouldn't have known. But it was sad that the animals, didn't get to go with her, and she certainly loved these animals. And, that German Shepherd was quite fond of the way she fed him, across the front of the leather couch. But the gal was successful upstairs and, being able to get the animals the help that they needed. But there still was a part of the picture that I couldn't figure out, and that was, how did she have food in the house? Somebody was definitely checking on her. Um, Otherwise, the situation would have been much, much worse. But she had a refrigerator with recent food, stocked food. It wasn't old food. And so there was someone trying to help. And, and a lot of times in situations, we wing it. We try and wing it. Family members were like, "Oh, I don't know what to do with her, but this is going on," and they try and help. Because she was pleasantly confused. She wasn't lashing out at anybody. Um, so I later found out there was a couple of nieces because I told you this woman did not have family. Um, she was older, he had passed, her parents were gone, they had no children, and so there was really no one in the area that they knew about that was caring for them. It was a mystery at first. But then these 2 nieces, came into the picture, and all I can say is, you know what? They were doing the best they could, but we've really, really, really gotta make better care, available to people who just don't know. Now we try. We got Alzheimer's Association, we've got Teepa Snow's organization. We have all kinds of educators out there, training and offering things. And so many of the communities are offering things, but there's still a lot of people that don't know. They don't know what dementia looks like. They can't see the red flags. And honestly, from the outside, this one looked just fine. And if you would have met her in the grocery store, if someone had asked her to put on a clean sweater, you may not have known either. It can all look normal on the outside, but then again, it's not. It's not normal on the outside. After we eventually got her placed into a community, got things cleaned up, we met the nieces, you know, they were just wonderful women who were just trying to help their aunt, help her stay in her place because, of course, that's what she wanted. And, maybe in a different situation, maybe if help had been brought in sooner, I don't know. Maybe if there was somebody who was the power of attorney that could have taken care of her, because that's another thing to bring up, you know? If someone is the power of attorney and can make decisions for this person, but, I mean, do you have your advanced directives filled out? I sure hope so. I do. Does someone have the ability to make choices for you if, for some reason, you are unable to make choices for yourself? Now, I know I worked in the ER a long time, and it really kicks in when someone's incapacitated, like in the ER when someone's unconscious. We needed people to make decisions. But it can kick in too for people that have brain failure. And there are a lot of situations where the power of attorney does stand up. And when this person is deemed incapacitated because they don't have the ability to make good choices for themselves anymore. And so, would the situation have been different? It all depends. Do you have the funds to bring in help? She would have probably needed 24/7 at this point. Um, could they have downsized? I don't know. I don't know. The questions go on and on, don't they, for those of you that work in this area? But then again, here it was, a situation that looked so normal, but wasn't. There may be situations around you in your neighborhood that look normal, or occasionally you see that person, and you wonder if everything's okay. So I'm one of those people that are probably gonna say hi and, you know, ask if you need anything. I guess that's the nurse in me. But, that's just how I'm wired. And you can ask my husband, he's forever saying, "Oh, she thinks that one might have a symptom. Oh, she thinks that one might have a symptom." And, probably my radar is tuned in to folks like this more than the average bear. But I just wanna bring the point home is that sometimes things look really normal on the outside, but they're not, okay? On the outside, it looked so normal, but on the inside, it just wasn't. And thankfully, I mean, it was am I thankful she fell outside? Yes and no, probably before things got worse, or a door was left open, the animals were out or something like that. Worse could have happened. On the outside, everything looks normal. Can we see dementia? Not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. I hope you're curious. Teepa always talks about being curious. I hope you're curious and have your eyes wide open. Because here's the thing: getting a diagnosis, life isn't over. It's not. It's not cancer. There are a lot of great things that can then happen. Having the understanding as to why we act the way we do, I think that's good. I think that's good. Am I running out to get the blood test or to see? I don't know. I'm still evaluating that. But I think if we have symptoms, it's great to get things checked out because there's probably lots of ways that the family can learn how to come alongside and join that person on the journey that would make life a lot easier for them in the long run and know how to not push their buttons, but yet be able to bring out the parts of their brain that they still enjoy, whether it's back in time. Maybe she still loves to cook and she can still stir. And, there's lots of things she can probably still do or he can do early on. Just keep in mind on the outside, it all looked normal and dementia can really look normal. But I want you to take a look inside, ask the question, get to know someone. This was a sweet lady. I can see her like she was yesterday. I did go visit her in in a community where she was. She looked good. She looked a little bored, but she was good. We got to take a walk and have a conversation. And she was in a much safer place. She had, you know, great meals and she wasn't in pain or uncomfortable or fearful in any way. All right, guys, just keep in mind, I want you to join them on their journey, come alongside, share in this life that they're having. And I'm Teresa Youngstrom. This is Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. I hope that you'll like and you'll share and subscribe so that we can get the word out to other people who need information. And I hope that today you've learned that on the outside it can really look normal, but on the inside, it can be chaos. And someone may just need you to check on them and inquire and be curious as to what's really going on in their world today. All right, keep in mind, you got this.